becoming another headcount. And what kind of queries, worries, concerns are your clients coming to you with about the Act or in the last few months?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting time, and there's been a lot of panicked conversations, clients really, wondering what on earth what they should do. And we keep saying, well, we've got you, we're keeping an eye on it, we're seeing what's going on. But so often with a lot of the new legislation, the guidance, the detailed stuff of what you need to implement doesn't come out until, And so we keep saying, no, just wait, we'll get you there. But one of the major things was the day one automatic unfair dismissal. I said, well, don't worry about that. That's next year now. And even then there could be some changes. A lot of clients, we work predominantly with small businesses, are concerned of the impact of the cost of the new SSP from day one. They feel that it may encourage the one day offs, after a heavy weekend, and maybe I'm not fit, to go to work on a Monday, and where they might have took themselves into work, they may not now. But on the other hand of that, I appreciate that for the lower earners, this is a good bit of legislation because it will support them and it will encourage them to take the time when they are genuinely ill. So I see both sides to it, and I think the proof will be in the pudding when that legislation actually starts working. We're 6 months in and we can see what the data looks like from that. But they're the two main points from our clients' perspective. There's a lot of detail that hasn't been high level, in the mainstream media that I think businesses don't necessarily know that's coming down the line. So we're just doing our best to educate and support where we can, really.
Now, Jacqui's keen to come and just say, got some cases on the go as well.
We've had probably about 3 or 4 that have been really quite complex, but they didn't need to be. And so from the business owner's perspective, they've had not only the cost of going through this, but also the cost of our services to help support them through it. And one of the examples I just wanted to highlight was that we had the employee, overnight employment law expert, pages long email, and then the manager thought, right, I'm going to run through this through my AI, and then drafted a whole response. And so you effectively had AI fighting AI, and none of it was correct, and we had to unravel it all to then get to the bones of what the situation was to be able to help them resolve it properly.
It's biased as well. We all know, particularly ChatGPT, it does tend to align itself with kind of what you want to hear based on your prompt. So if you've got 2 versions of kind of Copilot or ChatGPT battling each other.
Exactly.
It's your job or Rachel's job or any of us to kind of unpick that. Extra cost, extra resource, extra stress that no one needs.
Yeah, it's exactly as Rachel said, AI will tell you what you want to hear pretty much, depending on what you put in. And no employee who is looking for a fight with their employer is going to put the full truth of the matter in it, and vice versa, It is quite complex now, and it's...
Now the new legislation is going to bring about either new or it's enhancing around third-party sexual harassment claims. What does that mean, Jacqui? What does that mean generally? Who's vulnerable to that, and what should your average business be doing about that?
I feel like saying, you tell me, Katrina. It's one of those things. The original anti-sexual harassment law came through 2024, I think. And so we've been proactively supporting clients with training, risk assessments, and not just training of the leaders or the managers, but also the employees, so they fully understand what sexual harassment is, because there's a lot around that. People don't really know what constitutes as sexual harassment, and basically that's unwanted conduct. Since we started that training with our clients, we've had several sexual harassment investigations because people have gone, oh, right, I best report this then. And so we've seen an increase in that. And then with the strengthening of the law, where it says that employers have to do all reasonable activities to ensure that, as Caroline said, that there's no way they could have done any more to prevent this, then that's quite an interesting one, because again, we've got no detail on that of what is that. And then when it comes to third party, again, I don't feel that the level of details there. We have several hospitality clients. You've got bar people and they walk past a client and they think it's acceptable to, give them a quick bum slap. You have to wonder, how is that the bar owner's fault? So, and how do you educate the third parties coming in? And, we could be seeing signs through establishments, zero tolerance to sexual harassment. And then, once we get some more information, I'll be able to answer the question better. But even just coming on before we did, I had a quick look to see if there was anything new that I could report, and there just isn't at the minute, unless you've got any input on the third party.